Hello, how's everyone doing today? I thought I'd get on here and bring what given me. It's it's new to me because I'm giving it to you as he's giving it to me. Want to be in Job chapter 1. I won't be going through the whole book of Job. Uh, I like Job, but I'm gonna paint you a picture of where we're starting out. It says Job is portrayed as a wealthy man of upright character who loves God, yet God allows Satan to destroy his flock, his possessions, his children, and his health. Job refuses to give up on God, even though he doesn't understand why this is happening to him. We must, we too must trust God when we do not understand the difficulties we face. Chapter 1, verse 1, it says, there was a man in the land of, I won't get this wrong, please forgive me. It's Uz, whose name was Job. And that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. Eschewed means shunned. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance here is possessions. Also was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. When reading the book of Job, we have information that the characters of the story do not. Job, the main character of the book, loses everything he has through no fault of his own, as he struggles to understand why all this is happening to him. It becomes clear that he is not He is not meant to know why this is happening or the reasons why this is happening. He will have to face life with the answers and explanations held back only to when, only then when his faith is fully developed. We must experience life as Job did, one day at a time, and without complete answers to all of life's questions. Will we be like Job, trust God no matter what? Or will we give in to the temptations to say that God really doesn't care? As we see calamity and suffering in the book of Job, we must remember that we live in a falling world where good behavior is not always rewarded and bad behavior is not always punished. When we see notorious criminal prospering or an innocent child in pain, we say that's wrong, and it is. Sin has a twisted justice and made our world unpredictable and ugly. And that's true. I see a lot of times where a lot of criminals are getting off basically scot free. But if you're, and then I've seen where people trying to do good get punished for it. The book of Job shows a good man suffering for no apparent reason. Sadly, our world is like that. It is. It's very like that. But Job's story doesn't end in despair. Through Job's life, situations look hopeless. Faith based on rewards or prosperity is hollow. To be unshakable, faith must be built on the confidence that God's ultimate purpose will come to pass. Excuse me. Job was called a perfect and upright man because he feared God. He respected, worshipped, and obeyed him. At the same time, he stayed away from evil and did not allow sin to creep into his life or temptation to overcome him. Being a good person means both loving God and obeying his laws. Job made the effort to please God. Do our lives show this effort? I want to be honest. I mean, before I got saved, before I started living right, I had lost my daughter. And I hated God for it, for taking her. I didn't understand why he took her. I still don't know the reason why he took her. I hated God. I'm ashamed to say it, but I hated him. I didn't want to hear about God. I didn't want nobody to talk to me about God. I didn't want nobody to talk to me. I had I was in a very dark place. But before that, I was you could say I was a drunk. Me and my wife, we went out, started working over the road, and I got introduced to drugs. And I didn't like how it made me feel, and I ain't touched it since. I ain't been drunk in a lot of years. But I gave my life back to God where it needs to be. And there's still times that I fail him, but I do my best to do what he's called me to do, what and live the way he wants me to live. Yes, like I said, I fail him sometimes, but I'm trying. The location of the land of Uz is uncertain. We only know that Uz had plentiful pastures and crops, was located near a wilderness, and was close enough to the Sabines and Chaldeans to be raided. Uz is also mentioned in Jeremiah. Most scholars believe Uz was located near Canaan, where those to whom God first revealed himself lived. It is not known for sure, but Job probably lived during the days of the Patriots, Patriarchs, Patriot, Patriots, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Before God gave his law or appointed priests to be religious leaders, during Job's day, the father was the family's religious leader because there were no priests to instruct him in God's laws. Jacob acted as the priest and offered sacrifices to God to ask for forgiveness for sins he and his family had committed. This demonstrated that Job did not consider himself sinless. Job did this out of conviction and love for God. Not just because it was his role as head of the house. Do we carry out our spiritual duties because they are expected or spontaneously from a heart of devotion? Job showed deep concern for the spiritual welfare of his children, fearful that they might have sinned unknowingly, he offered sacrifices for them as part of their birthday celebrations. Parents today can show the same concern by praying for their children. Regular prayer means sacrificing some time each day to plead with God to forgive them, to help them grow, to protect them, and to help them lead lives pleasing to Him. The sons of God may have been angels. The Bible speaks of other heavenly councils where God and the angels plan their activities on earth, and where angels are required to give account of themselves, because God is creator of all angels, both of those who serve Him and of those who rebelled. He has complete power and authority over them. Satan was originally an angel of God, but he became corrupt through his own pride. Satan has been evil since his rebellion against God. Satan is God's enemy. He tries to hinder God's work in people, but he limits by God's power and can do only what he is permitted to do. Satan is called the adversary or accuser because he actively looks for people to attack with temptation, and because he wants to make people hate God. He does his through lies and deception. Job, a righteous man who had been greatly blessed, was a perfect target for Satan. Any person who is committed to God should expect Satan's attacks. Satan, who hates God, also hates God's people. The devil will try anything to hinder you, to pull you away from God's word, but to pull you away from God. Period. The devil's job is to seek, destroy, and to kill. And he will try anything and everything. From this conversation, we learn a great deal about Satan. One, he is accountable to God. All angelic beings, good and evil, are compelled to give an account of themselves before God. God knew Satan was intent on attacking Job. Satan can be at only one place at a time. His demons aid him in his work, but as a created being, he is limited. Satan cannot see into our minds or foretell the future. If he could, he would have known that Job would not break under pressure, because Satan can do not nothing without God's permission. God's people can overcome his attacks through God's power. God puts limitations on what Satan can do. Satan's response to the Lord's question tells us that Satan is real and active on earth. Knowing this about Satan should cause us to remain close to the one who is greater than Satan, God himself. Some people suggest that this dialogue was made up by an author of this book. Could this conversation between God and Satan really have happened? Other Bible passages tell us that Satan does indeed have access to God. He even went into God's presence to make accusations against Joshua, the high priest. If this conversation didn't take place, then the reasons for Job's suffering became meaningless, and the book of Job is reduced to fiction rather than fact. God, I believe everything in this book. And if this Bible tells me that it took place, I believe it, because in one Sunday school class we had to come up with information to prove the Bible's real, and the stuff that I found lines up with the Bible, and to prove that it's real. From cover to cover of this Bible, it's all true. It's all facts. And the devil will try anything and everything to destroy you because you're living for God. You have to stay prayed up, between fasting, prayer, and you can't fight the devil alone, because you will lose. You have to have God fighting your fights with him, because you can't do it alone. I'm going to pick up at 6 on my next video, because it's going to be fairly long, because there's 42 chapters. So there'll be my next videos. This is all going to be about Job. If you don't have a church, I recommend you getting in there Sunday. If you don't have a church to go to, you can come visit us at New Zion. It's The address is 393 County Road 616, Athens, Tennessee. We'll be glad to have you. The service Sunday school starts at 10. Morning service starts at 11. The Sunday evening service starts at 7. Training union, it starts at 6. Kids and youth start at 5:30 and 6. We'll be glad to have you. Remember, God loves you, and I love you. Have a good day.